The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan, themorganreport.com, week ending 11 February 2022. Well, start off with the stock market. As I said in the last couple of weeks, we've seen the market sell off, and then it caught a bid, and it came up and tested the resistance level, backed off somewhat, came back up around February 9th, retested that same level, and it's backed off. So stock market's in a bit of a quandary. I'm not going to make any large forecasts, but it looks like the major trend could be shifting, as I've said in previous updates. I wanted to move on the stock market to a specific area of the stock market, and this is from Arthur Hill, who is a certified market technician, and what he has to say is pretty interesting. So reading from him, it says it's been a rough year for much of the market, but the metals and mining spider, the XME, is bucking the selling pressure and challenges its 2021 highs, and the price looks like a relative breakout. There's also a big bullish continuation pattern at work. So it's something that most of people that follow, the metals and that type of thing, looks like a leading indicator. Again, he is a certified market technician. And there's more to this article. I won't read the whole thing, but it caught my interest. He's also on Twitter. If you want to follow him, he's at Arthur Hill on Twitter. But it's a short, brief article, but very nicely done, that we have an ascending triangle, and it looks like again, metals and mining spiders looking to break out. And turning to the blog here, I just did an interview with Rafi. It was very interesting. It was more about a personal basis here. I would definitely recommend that you find him on Twitter. He's also does a weekly update for Arcadia Economics, and he's very good with his analysis of particularly the silver market. Also did an update for INN, silver price forecast in 2022. Charlotte she's just wonderful and does a great interview, in my opinion. We talked a lot and really talked about an article I've been writing for a major publication in the UK about silver, of course, and how essential, irreplaceable it is, and how much is used in industry and how much will be used in industry going forward. And then I did another interview here with Elijah that just got posted, and this is about the dollar being destroyed or crashing the markets. Basically, if you want to strengthen the dollar, you're going to raise interest rates, which is what the Fed's talking about. But if you raise interest rates high enough, it's going to affect all markets, especially the stock market. The metals markets, yes, on a short-term basis, but they will recover. And the metals will really have a free rein on interest rates moving up until the interest rate gets above the real inflation rate. And the Fed's admitting the inflation rate around 7.5 right now, which means you needed like a 7.5 interest rate to just break even, say 8.5 to get a 1% real return. I don't think that's feasible or achievable. Others do. For me, I doubt it, but it's very tenuous times. I do think the proverbial kicking the can has been kicked enough, and I think we've hit the brick wall at the end of the road, or close to it. So this week I thought I'd do something a little different. These things are never scripted, as you well know. The article I found on recently, Why Silver's Not Money. I couldn't find the date on this. It's probably been published some time ago. You could tell as I get into this. But it's a very interesting article, and I thought I'd point out a few things here. Talks about why silver will not return as money. Talks about silver as money. You can find the article on marketupdate.nl, or you can just type in silver as money. I think that's how I found this article. Talks about the Coinage Act, which here's the most interesting thing to start this conversation is the article writer says, I'd like to highlight the following part of the speech. This is going off the pseudo-silver standard when the United States, quit minting silver coinage in 1965 on, stopped. So here's the speech from a portion of it from then President Johnson, quote unquote. Now, all of you know these changes are necessary for a very simple reason. Silver is a scarce material. I didn't say metal material, that's fine. Our uses of silver are growing as our population and economy grows. The hard fact is that silver consumption is now more than double new silver production each year. All right, so they were in a big deficit back then in 1965. So, in the face of this worldwide shortage of silver, that was in his speech, and our rapidly need for coins, because silver was money, the only real prudent course was to reduce our dependence upon silver for making our coins. So, in other words, let's go to the Johnson slug. If we had not done so, we would have risked chronic coin shortages in the very near future. And the public would have caught on, but most of the public, as you know, I was 11 years old when this happened, and most of the public really ignored it. The people that were actually, from my study and experience, to catch on were the vending machine people. Back in those days, most of the vending machines were actually mechanical, and you put in, a quarter or a dime or, variation, 35 cents, 50 cents, whatever. Much more valuable back then, especially if you're sticking silver coins in these mechanical machines. You pulled the handle, and out came a pack of cigarettes or a candy bar or what have you. It's much more basic than it is now. And that industry was well aware of the coins being changed because that's how they made their profits, was, stocking these machines. So I don't want to go too far down. I digress. Let me come back. So now from monetary to industrial metal, the fact that silver has so many industrial applications is problematic when you want to use silver for coinage as well. In other words, the more silver used in the industry, the less likely is it to return silver coinage. Why would anyone hostage in silver coins when the metal's so extremely useful for water filters, computers, laptops, televisions, smartphones, fridges, solar panels, batteries, antimaterial coating, and so on? So what's interesting to me is, the idea that the more useful something is, the more valuable it is. And silver obviously is valuable in all kinds of applications, yet its highest value is as money. That's been proven time and time again. So the whole mechanism here is to persuade everybody that silver is only an industrial metal and it isn't a monetary asset. And of course, the banks started that well before 1965, way back really in 1873. Of course, that was the act that killed the silver market. Then it came back and it was reminted and it was recirculated, but never caught on really, and never really was used as a monetary reserve, although there's back and forth in that. I'm making a very broad brush statement here. Of course, the Treasury had silver and they minted silver coins, as this article points out. What I find interesting is that their conclusion here: silver remains a very useful and valuable precious metal, but the days of silver's use as money are behind us. It's a fact, it really is. Although legally, you can use silver as money. I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but economically, why would you spend something with a value of, let's say, $30 and put an ounce of silver down to buy something that was stamped for $1? Anyway, let's move on. Investors still buy silver coins because of their intrinsic value. Fiat money has no intrinsic value. But it's perfectly suitable as a medium of exchange for daily transactions. And that would add until it isn't. In the long run, the silver price will be determined by industrial demand and the mining production of metal. Not true. Not true. What will determine the price of silver is how many people wake up to the fact that silver is a safe haven store of value and has been used as money. Whether they own it for monetary purposes or not, I could and you could make the argument that palladium really isn't a monetary metal, but you look at it going from 200 to almost 3,000, now it's backed off to around 2,400 in US dollar terms, is because of the industrial use only. Silver's got a huge industrial use and much more understood by the people that invest in it as a monetary asset. It's interesting to me that gold, of course, is money and talked about and even much more mainstream than silver, and that's fine. But you hardly ever hear of gold being mentioned without including silver. I mean, most people, not necessarily on the mainstream financial press, but in the alternative press, they almost go hand in hand. It's hard to talk about gold without talking about silver. So there is an awareness. It's growing. The Wall Street silver people, above and beyond anyone in recent times, has brought the awareness of silver as an investment class asset rather than just an industrial metal. Going to go ahead and conclude this week a little bit with cryptos. I've been diving deeply into the crypto space, as most that follow our work know. Here's an article that's recently from the Pickaxe. I like the subtitle, Strike Back at the Ruling Class. The title, obviously, India, China, Russia, Iraq, Qatar, Egypt, Morocco, and others ban crypto. The bloodbath begins. That's their title, not mine. Talks about, what's going on in the crypto space. I would have, it's now illegal in these areas. Well, I would push back a little bit on Russia. They have not really made it illegal, but they made it difficult and they're going to tax it. Silver purchases have increased 60 times year over year in India. India really was the driver for getting physical into the market. They had a year back or so, really no imports and actually exported a lot. It was at an all-time high, and you were having difficulty with paying the bills, making ends meet, feeding your family, etc. Indians still save in silver, but they save for a reason. And when that reason is you got to feed your family, you will take that silver, especially when it's all-time high in rupees, not in US dollars. But if you're living in India, that's an all-time high, and you need to feed your family, there'd be a lot of motivation to sell. And most people don't tell that story. That's reversed. They are purchasing silver again, and that's a huge amount, 60 times. But that's only because it was such an unbelievably low, as I said just a little while back. So Poland has locked in a purchase of 100 tons of gold for 2022. This is greater than all the gold minted in the U.S. over the past 5 years. So you can read this article. I would suggest that you get on his website, and I don't know if there is a way to subscribe to it or not, but it's called The Pickaxe, and I think you can find it with any search engine. And from that Pickaxe article, I'm clicking one of the links. And I can't pronounce this guy's name, but cryptocurrency will never be a legal tender. Finance Secretary Samanthion, I don't know, said cryptocurrency will never be a legal tender. This man said on Thursday, the 22-23 budget has given clarity on taxation of virtual digital assets and proposed a 30% tax on such trades. On it goes. So there's a lot of back and forth here in the crypto space as far as regulation, taxation, what's a security, what isn't. And I'm not claiming to know all the details in every one of them in every jurisdiction. In fact, I would go as far as to say I don't know if anyone could, because it's a dynamic, changing market. I mean, Russia says it's illegal, and they come back and say, well, really not. We're going to just tax the heck out of it. So a lot going on in this space. Again, to back up this meme that there's a lot of resistance to the crypto space. This is from India Today. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other crypto coins will never, that's a pretty powerful word, become legal tender in India, says a government official. I'm going to go ahead and close it out there. This is David Morgan of themorganreport.com. I will be back with you next week with another weekly perspective.